Okay, so it's well known that the oil and gas giants have spent millions over the last few decades denying climate change, even though they were fully aware of their contribution, much the same as the tobacco industry did about health concerns around smoking. But this newspaper clip shows that the effects have been known for over 100 years. Let's just let that sink in. This was the year the Titanic sank. Despite this, there have recently been a lot of posts on social media from people like Laurance Fox, the former actor and now Reclaim Party campaigner, and various GB News presenters, with photos taken of a rainy view and captioned with something like, "It's not too warm in here in August." They're being really funny, taking the piss at the idea of global warming. But they're too fucking stupid to understand that the clue is in the name. It's the globe that's warming up, not necessarily the little bit of Middle England they're in. And it is warming. It's a scientific fact borne out by raging wildfires in Europe, flooding in Asia, wildfires in the US and Canada, even record temperatures in the Antarctic. The oceans are warming, which is creating an issue around sea levels, as well as threatening many of the species that live in it, and that will have a knock on effect for us. And that global warming is leading to a change in the climate, simply called climate change, so those ignorant bastards can understand it. In fact, you might have seen the GB News clips circulated recently by Just Stop Oil, where Alex de Koning, a climate scientist, explains how heat affects the human body and people essentially boil inside, which the presenters, Andrew Pearce and Beverly Turner, found really funny, literally rolling around with laughter, even telling him to grow up. As Koning says, they behave like the only adult on the screen. They're laughing at the fact that thousands of people are dying. These temperature changes don't happen in isolation. They'll have massive effects going forward as coasts around the world get swallowed up and areas become too hot, too dry, or too wet for human habitation. There will be food shortages, and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people will have to leave the places they live. And the irony is, the people mocking global warming are exactly the same people who'll be demanding we close our borders when the humanitarian tide understandably heads for safer countries. They seem to think it'll isolate us from climate change, but obviously it won't. Of course, the government will be echoing those views if it thinks there are some extra votes in it for them. Just look at how they've jumped on the anti-Lules bandwagon and are happy to say publicly that they'll fight the next election based on divisive issues rather than policy. Not to mention the recent decisions criticised worldwide to allow a new coal mine in Cumbria and new oil and gas exploration in the North Sea. Just to clarify, this has nothing to do with the massive donations they get from the oil and gas industry. Yeah, right. And that upcoming visit from the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who apparently authorised the murder of a journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, has nothing to do with oil. But getting back to climate change and how it will affect us in the UK, what if something unforeseen goes dramatically wrong with the UK climate and for some reason we all need to move? We're stuck on an island, remember, and we'd be dependent on our European neighbours. What if, a few years down the road, these people have got their way and we've turned Britain into a fortress? Well, then your fortress becomes your prison, and I think our neighbours will be perfectly entitled to tell us to just go fuck ourselves.